Thanks.
And recording is on, and I'm gonna start letting them all in.
Great. Well, welcome. Those of you that were in the waiting room, we want to welcome you to our 4-H volunteer training this evening. I have a map up. Some of you are pros at this by now. I would love for you to use the annotate function on your computers or on your screen. If you hover up at the top, you should get a drop-down menu that will show you or give you an option to annotate, where you click on a little pencil, it looks like. You click on there and then you can select stamp, or if you're on your phone you have to select draw, and then I'd like you to put a dot where you're coming from, or a heart or a star. As you can see, some of the pros that have been on this have already doing it, so that's awesome, because we love to see where you're coming to us from tonight. Again, I taught a class yesterday for a bunch of NDSU students, and I used the United States map because there were students that were coming in from all over the country. We had ones from Colorado, one from Canada even. I mean, it was quite interesting to see where all of our students have gone due to the pandemic. But we have people coming already, I can see, across the state of North Dakota. That's wonderful. I haven't marked mine yet for the evening. I also want to remind you, as we're getting started, Megan has some special things that she's going to be doing during her session tonight. And if you feel comfortable, we would like you to download 3 apps, and they're listed on that white line there. There is the Story Dice, which you can use for your 4-H club meetings, Dice 3D 7 Pixels, and Jamboard to your phone or to your tablet. Those are 3 different apps that Megan's going to show you how to use when you do your 4-H club meeting, or your other 4-H club working with different groups, or some of your adult groups too, like that you meet with maybe for work and things like that. I think a lot of the things you're going to learn tonight you're going to be able to use in other ways. So again, if you're just joining us, and I see there's 9 people in the waiting room right now, so that Mickey's busy letting in. Go ahead, and as you're coming in, we would love for you to use the annotate function up at the top of your screen. Click that pencil, pick stamp, and mark where you're at tonight. Or if you're on your phone, you can do that and mark using just a dot where you're at on our map. Looks like we have lots of us joining. We'll get started in just about a minute or 2. I know there's still some people that are entering the waiting room. And I can't see everyone, but Becky Peterson, are you on with us this evening? She is our representative from the North Dakota 4-H Foundation. And Becky, if you're with us, if you would unmute your mic and let us know. We would also love it. We would like to see your smiling faces tonight. So if you're able to use your camera, I know some of you have bandwidth challenges, but we would love to have you use your cameras. Keep your microphones muted except for when you're joining us, but great, we have lots of people jumping on. Thanks, Mickey, for monitoring that waiting room there. Oh, I see lots of smiling faces. Thanks to all of you that are joining us. I know you have lots going on. Again, if you haven't annotated, hovered up at the top, pick stamp, or picked annotate and then pick stamp and mark things, please let us know where you're coming. I love to see the map because we have people coming from across the state. That's wonderful. Or if you're on your phones, yes, just that draw option. Great. All the way from Williston to Fargo to Alexandria. It looks like we're kind of all over tonight. That's wonderful. Exciting. And then Megan again asked that you think about taking your cell phone or your tablet and downloading. There are 3 apps that are listed in that white line there. There's the Story Dice app, the Dice 3D 7 Pixels, and the Jamboard app. If you would join us in downloading those. I just did that myself this afternoon. And those are different apps that you can use with your 4-H groups, with your 4-H clubs, with your shooting sports groups, different things like that for activities. So I think just in light of time, I know there's some people still entering, but my attitude is always don't punish the prompt. So I think we'll get started, but I just wanted to check to see if Becky Peterson was able to join us tonight from the 4-H Foundation. Becky, are you on with us? Well, maybe she will jump on here coming up. So I think we'll get started just because I know you have a lot going on and we have some really great things to share with you tonight. So we want to make sure we get to those. So with that, I would like to just, again, just say, look at this wonderful map. It's so fun to be able to see people coming to us from all over the state and even some from outside. I wanted to give you the agenda. Oop, I better clear the annotation off here. That's one thing I always forget. And then we're going to clear it. There we go. All right, so I just wanted to share the agenda with you quickly this evening. Again, we're going to do a little welcome here. Again, I want to say this is our 3rd and final evening of the North Dakota 4-H volunteer project trainings for the year. Of course, we would all love to be coming to you face to face out there in your communities, but we appreciate you trying this new format with us and being flexible. I think it's been fun, and we've been able to reach some other individuals due to this this option. Again, we promise as soon as we can get back out there with you, we will be doing those. We love the tours of the state where we as 4-H specialists get to come out to your communities and do some of these trainings. But again, I think since this virtual training has worked pretty effectively, we will be thinking about a mix between the two. So our agenda for tonight includes recognizing the North Dakota 4-H Foundation. And I don't know, Becky, if you're on with us yet. She might not have been able to make it, but Becky Peterson is actually our representative from the Farm Credit Services, and she is also a 4-H Foundation board member, and they are one of the sponsors along with NDSU Extension and the 4-H Foundation for these volunteer trainings. Farm Credit Services has paid for the masks the 4-H masks that you will receive for participating in the training. So we just wanted to do a special shout out to them to say thank you for their donations and for supporting 4-H volunteer training. I'm going to be covering just a little bit for you related to the 4-H Thriving Youth Development Model and how that applies to our North Dakota youth. And then for session 1, Dean Ockery is going to talk with you about flags at our 4-H club meeting. Session 2, Megan will be bringing you some great information on reimagining and redesigning your 4-H club meetings from 6 feet apart. I know we've had lots and lots of questions about that, and so it'll be great to be able to share that. And then we're going to do a little wrap up and evaluation. So speaking of, I'm going to stop this share for just a second and see if we have any questions again. Oh, and thanks, Mickey, for putting those apps in the chat for everyone. All right, just a couple of reminders, whoops, for tonight. Better share my screen again. There is an evaluation link where we'd love for you to just click and do a quick evaluation in Qualtrics for us about how tonight went. If some of you have been on before, it looks similar to the last ones. I want to remind you at the end of these 3 sessions, so after tonight, Mickey will be uploading the recordings of these for those, if you have some friends that didn't get a chance to join us. And we will also be putting all of the PowerPoints from this evening up. Hopefully you already downloaded the handouts you needed, but there weren't too many tonight. But those will all be located on our 4-H volunteer training website if you would like to get copies of those. And then just one quick reminder that while this one is synchronous and we're in this together as we're doing training right now, we will also be, there is a wonderful, well, I think wonderful, I helped create it, but a lot of people have had questions about how to really make their 4-H community club a success, some ways to make that easier for them as volunteers. And so we designed an online volunteer training with some videos and handouts and things like that. And Mickey's dropping that link in the chat too for you if you want to do some other work or gather some other 4-H ideas in your own time or on your own time. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing quickly, Mickey, so I can just check the chat, or you can just tell me, is there anything we need to address in the chat before we get started with the thriving model?
I don't see anything yet.
Okay, and you
I
dropped
do
the
see,
snaps.
yep, I dropped them all in there. I do see Carla said she can do a foundation update if for some reason Becky's not able to connect tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, Carla, if you're okay, we would just love to have you do a couple-minute update in the North Dakota 4-H Foundation. I would appreciate that. I'll mute my mic and I'll stop sharing so people can hear about that.
Okay, just a couple updates here for, am I okay? Yep, okay. Just a couple
Perfect.
updates here for the North Dakota 4-H Foundation, some things that we're wrapping up and things that are upcoming. The Tractor Supply Company actually does a fundraiser for us every year where you can buy 4-H clovers and you can have them displayed at your area Tractor Supply Company, and the money goes to the North Dakota 4-H Foundation. And this year I'm happy to report in the state that we sold 6,449 4-H clovers across the state. And we had an increase over last year, which then helped us the $2,000 bonus on top of that. So great job for promoting the Tractor Supply Company event out in your communities. That's great. Some other things the foundation is currently involved with is Giving Day coming up on Tuesday, December 1st. And we have some folks that have given us some matching dollars, and you'll be hearing about that here coming up within the next week. I'm actually working with Holly and the NDSU Foundation on that. And we have some projects going on at 4-H Camp. As you know, 4-H Camp didn't happen this year. And with COVID and everything, we just couldn't have camp. And so we have started a campaign for a patio project. And that is actually in honor of or memory of Elroy Hayden and Pat Carpenter. And they're 2 agents that we had out in Western North Dakota that were really pioneers in setting up the North Dakota 4-H camp. And they contributed a lot. And so we're raising funds for a picnic shelter. The concrete work was all donated by Great River Energy. And that is up. I was up to camp last week. It looks beautiful. And so now we're just waiting to raise the rest of the funds to be able to put up the picnic shelter. And then we also did some fundraising with a local group that Pat worked with up in the Washburn area, and they wanted to contribute something to camp. And so we bought a brand new grill, and that grill is in memory of Pat Carpenter. And so there's a lot of things going on out at camp, even though we didn't have any campers this summer. And a lot of things that the foundation is working on, including securing sponsorships for 2021 events. And of course, I'm helping out with the scholarships, and I know Rochelle works with that as well. So lots going on in the world of the North Dakota 4-H Foundation.
Great. Thanks, Carla. I appreciate that update. And we want to thank you again at the North Dakota 4-H Foundation for sponsoring 4-H volunteer training. We truly appreciate it. And so many other 4-H events that we work with or participate in. With that, I'm going to share my screen quickly, and we are going to move to a lot of times just in this space, we give you some quick updates about what's happening in the world of North Dakota 4-H. Some of you that were at the face-to-face trainings last year had a chance to I'm kind of one of the research geeks in the North Dakota Center, or the Center for 4-H Youth Development. And last year we talked about all that wonderful data that you shared related to being a 4-H volunteer in North Dakota. And I had a chance to kind of share all of the impacts that you make as volunteers. And this year, we wanted to share just quickly about one of the new 4-H youth development models. We, in the world of 4-H, thanks to you as 4-H volunteers across North Dakota and the country, are actually the leaders in youth development, or one of the leaders, because we really provide some research-based ways of working with youth. And so some of the researchers, including Mary Arnold, from she works with National 4-H Council, and she's also at Oregon State University, is working with a group of extension professionals, volunteers, a whole team to really develop the 4-H Thriving Youth Development Model. So I wanted to talk with you about that and how it really applies to your work as 4-H volunteers. So I want you quickly in the chat to think about and then put in there what you think our North Dakota 4-H youth really need to thrive. To be successful and thrive out there across our state, what are some of the things that our North Dakota youth need? And if you would please put that in the chat, that would be wonderful. What you think as volunteers that our youth need, or caring adults or extension professionals out there. Sometimes you're all of the above. So what do you think our North Dakota 4-H youth need to thrive? And I'm just going to stop my sharing quick so I can see. Have some great responses in the chat. Connection and to be seen. Yes, not just glanced over, but actually seen. Great leadership. Excellent. Experiences that foster interest. Wonderful. They need volunteers. Yes, and connection and compassion. Feel that they're part of a club and a community and have their ideas heard. These are excellent. Those leadership skills, that sense of belonging. Yes, that is one of the key pieces that we really provide in 4-H youth development, that sense of belonging, those opportunities for growth, to feel worthwhile, to have those role models to look up to, whether it's older 4-Hers or other volunteers, extension professionals. Oh my goodness, excellent things. I hope you can read all of these in the chat. Compassion, peer guidance, oh my goodness, leadership, excellent. Thank you so much. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen here. So if you think about that, I want you to now think about, those are all of those things that our North Dakota 4-H youth need. Now I'd want to ask you, or want you to think about and put in the chat again, how you, as our 4-H volunteers, or parents or caregivers and extension professionals out there, can help them thrive. What are some of the things that we need to do in 4-H youth development in order to make them feel connected, in order to make them feel that they're part of those communities or your 4-H clubs, in order to build those leadership skills? What can you offer as a caring adult in their lives, or a caring teen in their lives? Some of you are joining us, some of you 4-H ambassadors and other teen volunteers. What can we do to build those skills and help them thrive? Go ahead and enter those in the chat now, please. I'm asking you some hard questions right away tonight, making you work. Oh, great ones. The sense of purpose, those listening to them, and inclusion, absolutely. Making them feel included and like they belong, like we talked about. Providing those opportunities. Support with projects. Those projects don't just happen. We need a lot of support from our 4-H volunteers. Absolutely. Role model, listening to them. So many times they just need that caring adult, maybe that isn't their parent or caregiver, someone else just to bounce ideas off. They need cheerleaders, you're right. Oh my goodness, there's so many great ideas in the chat, I can't even keep up with them. Helping youth find their niche, giving them leadership opportunities, being a positive influence, yes. Oh, so many good ones. And giving them a chance to work with younger and older members, excellent. Those are all wonderful ways. So if you think about that, you're really helping us build that Thrive model. And that is exactly why you as 4-H volunteers and extension professionals are part of the reason that we're really working to continue to build youth development models that work. And a lot of our other youth organizations take those and kind of make them their own for their own professional organizations. Examples are Boys and Girls Club. A lot of time they connect with us. So the reason that we're talking about this, unfortunately, is because, as we know, there's a pandemic going on, and there's no time, or there's a time like no other for North Dakota or 4-H youth development. Some of the things that we're seeing related to impacts on youth due to COVID-19, I'm sure you've all heard in the news about the trauma, about the psycho-emotional distress, about the deteriorating mental health. None of this is news to you. About some of those learning losses that are going on, and then some of the societal implications as far as the social emotional needs. We need to take a whole child approach. That's truly required. We can see that there's a lot of inequities that are happening due to what's happening with can't even talk this tonight, pandemic, and widening of the opportunity gap, and then those health effects and inequities. So because of this, again, we absolutely need to be providing or helping shore up some of those pieces with our work in 4-H youth development. And so by using this thriving model, it really does make a difference. So if you think about your work with 4-H and what you already put in the chat, I know this is a lot of text on here, so I put some green highlights in here, and this is from our researcher, Mary Arnold. We in 4-H youth development do these things intentionally. And I want you to think about your club work or your work out there in communities in whatever ways that you're working with 4-H youth, and think about whether or not you're building these. And a lot of you already put these in the chat. But our goal with the thriving model and with 4-H youth development really is to begin with the child at the center, based on their unique interests, those sparks, what they're passionate about. And I know so many of you put helping them with their 4-H projects. That's where they really start to gain that passion. Maybe it's for photography or rocketry or something with STEM or something with livestock. That really gathers and gets them excited about things. We need to provide, as many of you said, that sense of belonging and that safe place for our 4-H youth to go. Right now that might be on the internet with our in a virtual 4-H club meeting, and that's fine. It's a great place for them to be. We talked about those developmental relationships, those opportunities for learning and skill building, and you do that in so many ways as 4-H volunteers and caregivers out there. Again, the social emotional development is a key piece of them learning to sometimes accept that red ribbon, which can be the challenge at times. Maybe to learn how to speak in front of the judge and then accept both the positive things and some of the challenges they may have faced with all of that. That all helps with the social emotional development. Giving them a chance for leadership. Many of you put that on there already. So we have found that youth who experience 4-H in high quality program context really do thrive as they, again, you can read these to develop internal and external assets that promote that healthy development. And here's those social emotional skills: empathy, self-regulation, a growth mindset. So not just being fixed and saying, you know, I can't get any better at this, I'm going to quit, but actually saying, you know, I'm not there yet, but I will get there with this project area or this work that I'm doing. Awareness beyond the self. We in 4-H youth development do that through our community service and our service learning pieces that we do. And we really give them a sense of purpose as they work through their 4-H opportunities. So I'm not going to completely go through this intense model. You know, those of us that are researchers love those models out there, but I did provide a couple handouts on the website tonight. And one of them shows the model in a bright orange color here. You probably can't see that very well, called Youth Program Quality Principles. And we did really pull kind of the great pieces of the work that you're doing as 4-H volunteers and 4-H professionals out there, extension professionals, put it all together and really say, what does it take for a youth to succeed in life? And here's some of the great things that 4-H is doing in order to make that happen. So our goals at the end of 4-H youth development is that we want our 4-H youth to feel connected, that we help build their character. And I know we've been having a lot of conversations in our Center for 4-H about character again this week and how character really counts. We want to give them confidence in 4-H and confidence for the world. I know my daughter, who is 13, has been doing demonstrations since she was a Cloverbud or communication arts. And she now has no problem, of course, speaking in public when some of her classmates are still pretty nervous about doing that. And of course, that's that confidence we instill. We want them to feel a sense of competence and finally that caring piece. So they look beyond themselves. You can see these other pieces here. And our goal at the end is really for them to transition to successful young adulthood. So again, it's no time like the present for us to really be able to look at this critically and really work on it. And so I'm just going to share these really quickly because I know we need to move on and address the rest of our evening. So some of the things that you can do as 4-H volunteers is express the fact that you care, that you show 4-H youth that they really do matter to you. Maybe that's with an email, a note, that you ask that, how they're spending their time at home and really checking in on them and making sure they're working on some of those 4-H projects. And that you tell them you really believe in them and that you understand it's a difficult time, but you support them. And then you continue to encourage them to move on with their learning and growing, and that you're part of that, that we don't just leave them out there hanging. We're having those virtual meetings that Megan's going to talk about. And I do have a longer handout for your reference about this research. That really is some of the Search Institute ideas about challenging their growth and pushing them to get better, providing support, sharing power, and expanding their possibilities by connecting your youth with people and places that broaden their world, maybe bringing in some speakers who have different career options or opportunities that really connect to 4-H projects and having them speak during your club meetings. There's lots of great ideas on that worksheet. And I know Megan's going to give some great ideas tonight too. So I just want to leave you with a call to action. We have a new way we need to be doing 4-H youth development. Kind of with the challenges that we face, we also have a lot of benefits that we can provide as 4-H volunteers out there for our youth and extension professionals. I don't need to read these all to you, but we can prepare them. 4-H is a safe place for them to learn. Again, part of our goal will be in this next year to really empower you as 4-H volunteers and extension professionals to do more training and hands-on learning that can be taken out to your 4-H clubs. We really do now more than ever need you as 4-H volunteers and caring adults to make a difference out there with our youth, connect with them, continue to meet virtually or face-to-face, socially distant, to following those rules and guidelines, because now more than ever our 4-H youth need you. So with that, I know I've taken more time than I should have. We got started a little later tonight. And it looks like we're doing some great things. Thanks, Mickey, for putting those in there. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Dean Ockery so he can share with you about our 4-H flags.
Okay, we'll get started here. I am Dean Ockery. I've been on the Center for 4-H staff here for a number of years, and I'm glad to be with you again tonight. We're going to just kind of cover a little bit about flags. Maybe a lot of this you'll know, but some of the things you can hopefully think about as you work in your 4-H club meetings, because I think a lot of young people really began to learn a lot of those kind of procedures. Some in school, but a lot of them in organizations like 4-H. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, if I can find the right one here. And I am going to okay, hopefully you're seeing a big yellow welcome right now. So as I go through this, I'm going to stop and pause for a couple times, and I'm going to ask for some feedback, and you might put it in the chat, or you might just have a discussion yourself. I'm also okay. In fact, there's a part of this I would like you to all turn your mics on as well, because after all, what do we do when we're at a 4-H meeting? We generally as we get started, we take a look around the room, or maybe somebody in your club has the role of setting up the room, and every place is different, and every club meeting is different, and so forth. So we probably start with the pledges. So I think we should stand up and say the pledges right now. So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I hope that you'll put your mics on, and we'll just see what it sounds like as a group. So I'm going to stand and kind of step out of the way so you can see the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands
one
nation under God,
indivisible,
with liberty
and justice
for all. Now, I'm going to take just a moment and say, as you say that pledge, here's one of the things which I think we all do, and I've done it as well. But the one thing that I think we often get caught is this one nation under God. Notice that there's no comma. So that's really one fluid statement rather than one nation and then pause. And then, so that's just one of the things, and I've noticed it, and it's everywhere I go, we tend to do that. It's kind of a rhythmic thing. And we, of course, get to the 4-H pledge, and of course, hopefully we're all doing those at the meetings as well, too. So let's, and I have a little flag here, the 4-H flag, since I don't have that one in my background right now. So let's stand and say the 4-H pledge as well. I pledge my head to clear thinking, my heart greater loyalty,
my
hands the largest service, my health better living, for my club, my community,
my
country,
and my world.
All right. Thank you for doing that, because I think most 4-H meetings really should start with those. That gives some structure, it gives some guidance, it sets the tone for the rest of the meeting. And so therefore, those things have a purpose, and they're important. Tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about flags and some of the history of the flags that we see at our 4-H meetings. But right now, even though I can't see the chat boxes, Rochelle, if you wouldn't mind, what I'd like you to do is real quickly type in the flags you see at most of your 4-H meetings, or any 4-H meeting that you've been to. And Rochelle, if you mind just announcing those as we go.
All right. Oh, sorry, Dean, I missed. Did you?
Oh yeah, it's
cut out?
Yeah, just.
Oh, yep. Read them to you. The North Dakota state flag, the American flag, and the 4-H flag. Lots of U.S. flags and 4-H flag, U.S. flag, 4-H flag, and North Dakota state flag. Yep.
Okay.
Lots of U.S. and 4-H flags coming in through the chat as far as what they're using.
So that's a good sign. We generally have those flags, and so it gives us something to talk about. So let's start with that. Yes, the U.S. flag. Certainly we see that one at most meeting places, and if not, you probably have the small set that you set on your desk and so forth. And we're going to go through a little bit of that as well. And just like you said, the 4-H flag. And we'll talk a little bit about the 4-H flag and what you might see there. and the North Dakota flag. And then this is as much as I'm going to put on here, but occasionally there, you might see a foreign flag, particularly if you've had an exchange student or you know, not, we haven't had it recently, but we used to have the, you know, the IFE program and so forth, and we had 4-H members, you know, spend some time in foreign countries that that are affiliated with 4-H and would bring back and share some of that culture and things. So flags is a good opening for a lot of things. If you can see my little thing right in front of me here, I've got just a couple of flags on this little display I put, but in addition, and I brought just a few, my oldest son, when he was young, would collect flags, and he collect flags, and he could identify countries by the look of the flag as well as states immediately. He found that fascinating. I grew up in the time of encyclopedias. We didn't have the internet and Google and that kind of thing. And the F encyclopedia at our house was totally worn out because Nick, he studied those all the time. In fact, he made a contest of it himself at the Olympics or Miss World, Miss Universe contest. He would try and identify the country that that team or person was coming from by the flag they were carrying before they announced it. That was his goal. So he'd be sitting intently at that. Once they were all there, then the event wasn't quite as important. He used that as a real stimulus, and you can do that too, because there's a lot of interesting facts about that. But let's start with the parts of the flag. I'm going to hold up this little paper flag here that I made today, just colored in, and of course I didn't put any stars on it. I wanted it to look halfway decent. But let's start and look at these things. This blue section is called the Union or canton, but Union most often you'll see that, and of course that's where we have the 50 stars. All of this area with the stripes is known as the field or ground, okay? And you'll want to note that there are 7 red, 6 whites, because so red on top and red on the bottom. And of course, why are there 13 stripes? Everyone will probably know that, but if anyone who wants to shout it out, feel free to. 13 originally colonies. I didn't hear anybody, so you're being bashful, but that's all right. And I'm okay with you taking your mic off and injecting here today. I love that. So anyways, we have this, we start with the red and go white, red, white, and to the bottom. And then let's talk about a couple of the other terms that you'll see in here at some time. So half staff, flying the flag to half the distance between the top and bottom of the staff, staff being the pole. And of course, when a flag is flown at half staff, it's always brought to the top and then brought back down halfway. And of course, that's done in honor of a memorial, those kinds of things, you know, the death of a president or a top government figure, you know, that type of thing. However, on a ship, it's called half-mast. So it's the same thing, but it's half-mast as opposed to half-staff. So out in the Navy, when they're on the water, that is referred to as half-mast. And then take the other terms of the look at the flag. The width of the flag when viewed flying, okay? So that would be this. So that is called the fly. And hoist is the height of the flag when viewed flying. So some terms that you'll see sometimes and maybe we'll have used to refer to them. So did you know that there are some official proportions, for example, to the US flag? And like I said, my first and the bulk of this is about the US flag, but I've got a little of others as well. And the first part is, this is there's a lot of detail in there, but most flags that you buy are not standard proportions, the official proportions. The flags that the military uses, the flags that are on, you know, official buildings, so forth, might be standard proportions, which is 1 to 1.9 ratio, which is you know, a little bit off. So this flag here that I made today, I did my best to make it to a 1 to a 1.9 ratio. It looks long. Longer than, you know, than most of ours. It took a little while, you know, I had to go back to some math skills that I wasn't sure I had anymore to kind of figure out how you know, what that kind of perception should be. But that's really the official size of the official flag of the United States. So most flags that you purchase will not be the official size. They'll be standard sizes that have been made good for marketing and use, 2x3, 3x5, those kind of things. And so they've adapted those measurements accordingly. But again, we can look at some of those things, the hoist, the fly, so you know, okay, hoist, fly, and you know, so each of those kind of pieces. And even there's specific sizes for the stars on an official flag, and as well as the width of the stripe. Okay, so let's start with just a tidbit of a history of the U.S. flag, and in June 14th, 1977, the Continental Congress adopted the basis for it all. Resolved that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternating red and white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation. So prior to that, that very top one here with the Union Jack was kind of the start of our flags until this act happened. I've got 1977 here, I believe. I need to cross-check that, but the thing progressed. The other thing is about the official flags took precedence. We didn't have an official flag immediately from 1776. You know, we had the flags that were being used, and so that's some of the history. But as you can see, the progression of flags during those early years was interesting. The other thing I would like to know is that when a state was added to the Union, of course they added a star, which you know, but do you know when that star is actually officially added? Anyone? The star is officially added on July 4th, following whenever the state was officially accepted into the Union, enacted into the Union. So if a state joined on June 15th, 2 weeks later, a new flag is officially in place. If it's July 15th, it waits almost a year before that new flag is officially in place. So North Dakota became the 39th state on November 2nd, 1989. I copied the wrong number. How about 1889? Okay, I see a couple things I need to correct here before. So you will be able to get this presentation, but I'll correct it before and have Mickey fix that first. I'm sorry, I never saw that. However, there was never an official flag with 39 states. Anybody want to take care for guess why that would have been? And if you've got an idea, maybe jot it in the chat box. If Rochelle, you just kind of watch to see if anybody throws out an answer for that. North Dakota star was included on the next official flag, which had 43 stars. And so you can think about that, and it probably makes sense. Do you have a response there?
People are getting it. Yep, South Dakota and North Dakota came in at the same day. And then another person said North Dakota, South Dakota, and Montana. And Caroline says, Dean, way to keep us on our toes with the date. Yes. More than one state was added. Several joined in 1889. Yep. So they've got it.
Yep,
and those are
great.
some great trivia questions for our year 4-Hers.
Absolutely. And like I say, I'll fix those couple of dates so they reflect the right year here. As many times as I looked at that, I never caught it until now, and I had to show it. But that's exactly right. So what happened is that if in the process, we had 38 states and a flag with 38 stars. And then within that year's time, before we got to that official next July 4th, we actually had five additional states, North Dakota being one of them, the first one of those 5. And so that's when that came. Now, having said that, I will tell you that there were actually some flags made with 39 stars. And there was 2 reasons for that. Even though North Dakota and South Dakota came on the same date, it didn't jump from 38 to 40. The prevailing thought in many circles was that it would be called Dakota and they would be one state. and instead 2 states were joined at that time. So just another little piece of information that that you find when you start looking for some of this. The flag that had 48 stars in 1912, and it remained that way. So there was the continental, all connected 48 states, stayed that way all the way until 1959, when the flag with 50 stars was made official, actually in 1960. But in 1959, there was a brief time with 49 because Alaska joined prior to July 4th and 59. Hawaii joined after July 4th, 1959. So until we got to the July 4th of 1960, we didn't have a 50-star flag. Okay, so this is the first part. I'm hoping that you have a sheet of paper or brought something with. You know, if something like this, I've got a white sheet here as well. And or if you have a flag that's, you know, not too large and whatever, take a moment and let's see if we can fold that U.S. flag. I'm just going to give you a moment or two to do that and put it in so that you can tell how the process. This is the instructions, and these particular instructions actually came from the VFW site, but I also found another site from Ohio, Extension Ohio 4-H that has some real good directions and pictures for that. But the procedures are that you bring the 4 corners together lengthwise. Now I'll kind of show this in my small screen at the same time. So the 4 corners, and I'm going to fold it up so lengthwise. Okay, so that's where you start. And of course, if you're doing a larger flag, it's best to do it with 2 people so you can hold it taut, you know, hold it so that it keeps it straight and nice. And then you'll fold it again lengthwise. So we went from here to fold it in half, and then again halfway like this. And then beginning at the striped end. So right here, now you're not going to be able to see this part here, but right here, this side here is my flag. So I'm going to start with the striped end, and we simply start with a taking the 4 ends or the loose ends and starting there and folding them over into a triangular shape. And then we repeat it again. Now I will grant you that if you're doing this with paper, it'll be harder to do than it would be with cloth, because the paper, you can only fold paper so many times before it gets out of that. But you can see the process, and it's a good way to learn when you're first starting. And if you have a club, one of the things that you can do, and it's you continue to fold that. Now, if it's an official flag, official U.S. flag, that 1 to 1.9. They said, generally speaking, you should get about 13 of those little triangles to fold. It'll take that kind of thing. If there's a little bit at the end, they'll often tuck them in at the end so that you end up with just the triangular piece, and that triangular piece should be just the blue field with stars on it. And so, excellent. So that's a little exercise that you can do as you're that, and keeping in mind that doing it in a club, having different people have a chance to do that can make that for a great activity. And of course, is one of the things that is often done at 4-H camp, for example, if you're out there every evening as the flag is taken in. So that's a great piece to do, and it gives the young people an opportunity to learn a little bit about the flag and so forth. And of course, you can begin to bring in some of the history with that. Now, once in a while, you'll take a look and you'll see the flag which looks backwards. And we were struggling with this actually on the screen now, because right now when I'm looking at my picture on the screen, I'm seeing the flag backwards too, but I think it's right to you all, right? So the whole mirror image confuses me at times. But why is the American flag displayed backwards in some military uniforms? Notice this soldier here with the flag and the Union with the stars and so forth is out front. And so again, according to the U.S. flag code, you shouldn't let the flag touch the ground or hang it upside down. And while there's no express, you can't, nothing says you can't show it reversing the image, it's probably a safe bet that you shouldn't do it typically. But keep in mind that when you look at this flag now, with this one that I made on paper, okay, I've got the stars and stripes on one side, but a real flag, of course, it has on both sides. And so, so you keep that in mind. And so in this case here, the soldier is wearing it because as they would march and walk forward, the flag would be like it's flying, and thus the pole would be on the side of the Union or the stars, and so the rest of it would be flapping in the wind behind. So there's a reason why you'll sometimes see that reversed. All
Dean,
right.
we have a couple comments in the
Sure.
comment box, and it says Sherelle said they're never retreating, and Ross said the Union always leads, and it says as if the flag was flying while they're walking or marching or charging into battle.
Yes,
so,
yes, all of those things
great.
are exactly right. Yes, so great comments, and more that I had there. But yeah, so you kind of keep that in mind. So your first initial reaction, well, why would it be that way? That's some of the reasons, because we're moving forward. So let's take a moment and take a look at the 4-H flag. Now the 4-H, now if somebody knows something different than what I've got here, I'd like to find out, because I kept looking for this. I cannot find where the 4-H flag has an official flag. The 4-H has an official emblem placed on a piece of cloth that serves as a flag. But in all the lookings I was for, there's lots of talk about the emblem and the official and put it on a white background and so forth for display, etc. But there is nothing that I can find with dimensions or anything for a 4-H flag. Again, the flags are going to be commonly the sizes that are sold, like a U.S. flag, a 2x3 or a 3x5, or those kinds of things. So the 4-H emblem is placed on a white background, and the H is placed. And then the H's will be white, so you'll see that through. Although it can be reversed, or it can be the outline, and those are all acceptable. But this is what you'll find most often. In fact, this particular picture here was taken right from the National 4-H Supply Service, or Shop 4-H. Now, there is a method to folding the 4-H flag as well, and so. If you have a piece of paper and want to try that as well, because you often wonder, well, is there an official way to fold it? Not that I could find. However, in Ohio, they have a recommended, they have a literature piece and a recommended way to fold it, and it makes sense. The ultimate goal is to have an H, 1/4 of the clover on each side when we're done. So if you just keep that in mind, that's the process. So if you'd like to give that a try, if you have a sheet of paper, or if you have a flag, a piece of cloth that you could do that, I'm going to just kind of pull this out. Here's half the flag that I have now folded once already. Here's the open sides. Okay, so you would get that type of thing, and you can do that as you go along, and then fold it again. So now you have 2 H's there, and you have the bottom of the stem on the other side. And then with the H's down, to simply fold a 1/4 of it into the middle and another 1/4 into the middle, and then bring it together, and now you have an H on this side and an H on this side. So and while I haven't seen that there is any official way to fold the 4-H flag there, I found that in Ohio, and I thought that makes sense, and it's certainly an appropriate way to display the flag when not in use. So again, that's another activity that you could do and learn a little bit about that 4-H flag while you're doing that. So let's take a look at the North Dakota flag here. I should double check my time here. So the North Dakota flag was adopted in 1911. And as you can see the picture here, this flag was basically the flag that was taken into battle before North Dakota was a state, and then they added North Dakota to that. But it's an eagle carrying a ribbon in its beak, e pluribus unum, which means out of many one, which was kind of a standard, and it was a for many of the territories, and as they became states, it was kind of that process, symbolizing one nation made up of many states. The flag's official proportions, again, are may be different than you see them. The official proportions are 33 to 26, which means it's not a square flag, but it isn't far from it. So it's really quite different than, but again, as you purchase flags, you're gonna find them in the more common ratios, a 3:5, 5:3 ratio, or you know, a 2. The ones that are kind of become standard and accepted. The flag was adopted March 3rd, 1911, and the flag came basically the same flag that was carried by the North Dakota Infantry during the Spanish-American War, except that they added that North Dakota piece to the bottom, or the name North Dakota underneath there. So the flags can be a lead into a lot of studies and organizations, and if you take a look, there are many of these flags which would have 4-H organizations in them. There are a number of countries, and so you can find one of it's colorful and find characteristics that can be really quite fascinating, kind of depending on region of the world. For example, a lot of African flags tend to have a green as one of their color, and so there are different kinds of things that make it. There'll be some that you'll certainly recognize because you probably see them a lot, and then others that oh boy, I've never seen that. To my knowledge, from what I've been able to find out, that all flags of national flags except one is in a basic square rectangular type shape. There is one that is different, and actually you're seeing that basic look of it, like up here. And so that might come back later, because we're gonna play a little game. Some of the references that I used to find these photos and so forth, I am going to
Hey, Dean.
yeah, stop my share. I'll take some questions. Yep.
Yeah, we have one question in the chat. Is there any symbolism to the stars on the North Dakota flag?
Not that I'm aware of. As I was reading through that, I was trying to read as much about why the different pieces and so forth, and I think it was simply because these stars, because there were stars in the U.S. flags, it was tied to that, but I don't know that each had a specific piece. I'm going to do another screen share. I got to double check my time here. I've got about 15 minutes or so.
Yep, you're doing fine. You have till 7:40. So
now we're going to play a little game, and this will be available to you after we're done. We're not going to play it. It might look a little bit like Jeopardy, but we're not going to really play it like Jeopardy. Well, that you could make up your own rules in a meeting, and this will be available to you. So let me find that screen, and we'll simply call this one there we go. We'll simply call it flag knowledge. I was trying to come up with something creative, but that's as good as I could do. So, but much of it is on the United States flag, because there's just a lot more information on that. But I have a little bit about the 4-H flag and other flags that you might see. So what we're going to do is, if you have a sheet of paper and wanted to just kind of keep track, rather than we could have people call out and you could play it like Jeopardy and make scores like that. But for right now, I'm just going to kind of run through a lot of this, and I think for fun, if you want to take a quick guess, jot down an answer, we'll check them immediately afterwards, and you can kind of keep tally and see how many you get right as we go through this. So a little bit of trivia about a variety of things, and I kind of did this several times. I was going to take different pieces and focus it on simply on how to display in one column and how to do another thing and so forth in another column. But it is a little more random than that. There is a little of that organization, but let's jump in. So I'm going to start here right with just the trivia right at the beginning, number 10, and this, like I said, will be available to you. So what you would do is you would simply you would have it up. You would click on the question, F10, and notice I just had it flags where my categories up on top or the overall. And so we can start with this, and if you're keeping track in a sheet of paper, you can just call this F1 or F10, and write down your answer. And what is your answer? If I just click, it'll go to the next one down here. We can move forward, we can move backwards, and so forth. So I'm just going to click forward. And the answer would be a rectangle. That is the general shape for most flags, okay? So now when you're at that, if you're playing the game, you could come over here to home, okay? You could come over here to home. In fact, I'll do that. And if you do that, it just brings you back to the original board and can select another. I'm just going to pick up where we left off. And so, oh, I'm sorry, Francis Scott Key. And the question there, you didn't get the answer, so you all get it right. That's the rule when I was a teacher. If I did something too fast, everybody gets credit. So, but that flag that was at the Fort McHenry, and where's Fort McHenry? Anybody have a guess? What city would it be closest to, or in, or by, or connected to? Get any guesses, Rochelle?
I'm looking in the chat. I'm not seeing anything yet.
Well, Fort McHenry is basically Baltimore. I had the privilege of going there once, and that was neat. The flag that originally was there during that battle when Francis Scott Key wrote the national anthem, what's left of it, because bombs bursting in air, it was damaged and so forth, but is on display at the Smithsonian National Museum of American History. I have had the privilege of seeing it there, and they've done their best to kind of restore it, and of course they keep it in very dim light and so forth so that it doesn't deteriorate more. But that flag had something unusual about it, if you will, and the unusual was that one has 15 stripes on it, 15 stars and 15 stripes. So that you might want to know that later. So what do each of the colors of the United States flag represent? So can you match them? You know, those colors were selected for a purpose, and they had meaning. And so generally, red associated with what? White associated with what? Blue with what? And so you have liberty and purity, valor, and you have justice and loyalty. Anybody want to take a guess at any of them? Well, I'm going to go to the next station. If somebody's had a chance to type in something, that's great, but I'll go now.
We have some answers. Do you want me to read? So Jesse said that white equals liberty, and Tammy said liberty and white equals liberty and purity.
Yep, that is correct. And as you can see, red for valor and blue for justice and loyalty. And again, so there's a reason that goes behind a lot of these things. I know for me personally, as I was growing up, I probably just accepted it, and that's the way it is, and didn't think more about it. But when you actually start looking for some of these things, it can be fascinating information. Okay, how about this one? How many official versions of the American flag, each with a different amount of stars, has there been? Just want to take a guess at how many. And we have 50 states. We will tell you it's not 50, and of course, which you know, the first one had 13. So, anybody have a guess in there? I'm gonna let this transition here, and we'll see there have been 27 official versions of the U.S. flag. So,
wow.
So again, each time a state or group of states were added, it's been that many times that it came from that first flag. When Alaska and Hawaii were admitted as states, there were many ideas for the updated flag. Anybody I know who submitted the design? This was actually some fascinating stories, and I've got kind of a two-part answer here. And I'm not really sure which one is official, so you're going to see them both. But it's clever. I found it in multiple sources. A guy by the name of Robert Heft. He was a 17-year-old high school student from Ohio, submitted his version that he created for a class project. But another version, which is probably the official one if it goes on a record somewhere, but I find lots of references to both of these, is that the official designer is simply listed as the Army Institute of Heraldry. So, which is probably right, and they might have been very similar or even almost the same, but nonetheless. But now here's a fun fact about this Robert Heft. He submitted this as his flag, if you will, as a class project, and he got a B-. And he protested. He said a B-, and the teacher said, well, if you can get the country to accept it, I'll change your grade. And so that's what prompted him to submit it in, send it in to the federal government to look at. And of course, when the flag came out, it was basically the same version. So whether it was him or the Army Institute that actually submitted, they might have been so close to the same you couldn't tell the difference. And so in the summertime, several months after he had graduated, his grade was officially changed to an A. So, but I thought that what an interesting story, you know, things that you wouldn't know. Because one of the things that you'll find out whether you're looking at flags, whether you're looking at any other thing that you might be teaching in your club, nobody learns more than the teacher. And that's something I learned when I first started teaching, is that, wow, there's so much here, and then you pick and share and so forth. But it really is true. As you're teaching, it's some of the best education you can get. So how should the United States flag be displayed on a wall? And I think everybody's probably going to know this. I'll simply ask, by putting the Union, or the blue portion with the stars, where should that be? And the answer is whether it's vertical or horizontal, the star should be at the top of the flag on the observer's left. Okay, so that is the correct display, and it doesn't matter if it's vertical or horizontal; it's always that same way. And if you go to most of your schools with the flag on the wall in the gymnasium, and indeed they are displayed that way. But if you ever thought about that, those things can go by without us really paying attention to that portion of it.
Dean, we had some people answer that, and then Caroline said your example of the high school student was the perfect example of perseverance that we try to teach.
Oh, great. Yes, thank you, Caroline. That's yes, a great thought. So
very much so.
So how should the flag be displayed on a stage or podium? You're going to probably know the same thing again, but it is going to be on the speaker's right, which makes it on the left again for the audience. Okay, so as we're looking at the speaker and the flags, the U.S. flag should be on the left, and the other whatever the other flag is on the right, if there's more than one. And just keep thinking about it from a standpoint that to the right of the speaker is kind of the place of honor. Or if you're thinking about from being in the audience, we read left to right, and the American flag goes first. So think of it that way. Just remember that American flag goes first if you get another question that's related here. So how should it be displayed over a street? I'm going to bring that one up. Over a street, it should be suspended. If it's suspended across the street, it should hang vertically with the stars on the north or the east. So on the north would make sense. That's up. East, west. Well, the sun comes up from the east. That's the best relationship I can give for that. Now, keep in mind that if it's suspended across the street, it's going to be right or left depending on which direction you're coming from. So you can't say on the left or right, and that's why a direction is used there. So north and east. When the U.S. flag's displayed with state flags, what's the proper protocol? Somebody will have this one right away, I think. Okay, I'm going to flip to the next one. The U.S. flag flies at the center and highest point of a group of flags of states when it's with a group of flags, or localities or societies, our group for display. So at the center or highest point. Okay.
We have some answers. Do you want? And they said higher.
Yep, exactly. So when I put together, if you can see this little piece here, you can't tell this here probably from the direction here, but I do have this center hole a little bit further forward because these flags are all the same height. Okay, so probably in reality it should have been a little more pronounced, but it is that way. But if for some reason they were you only could display them in an even line, then the U.S. flag would be again the first one from your left as you're coming as a viewer to see that. All right, let's look at the next one here. Whoops, I lost my cursor. Excuse me for just a second. I got to get it back. Okay. There we go. All right. For some, whoops. No, that didn't work.
You know, sometimes, Dean, if you stop sharing and start again, it'll do that. I
probably
don't know why that does that
probably need to do
sometimes.
that. Yeah, I just
The
lost that
joys of technology.
Yeah, so I apologize for that. That's
Thanks for all of you for putting the answers in the chat too. That's great. Got some real flag experts with us tonight.
okay. So how should the U.S. flag be displayed with flags of other countries? Anybody have that one? And again, let's see, I'm looking at my time. We'll just have a few more minutes and we'll probably just skip around for a couple and then kind of wrap this up. And the answer is, when the flag's flown with other national flags, they should be of equal size and flown on separate staffs at the same height. International law forbids any one country or one nation to flow above another in peacetime. So, that's a good point. And what are the colors of the 4-H flag? We got a couple of 4-H ones in there, you know, white background, the green clover. I'm going to just hit a couple of these real quickly. Which side of the room or table should the flags be displayed at your meeting? And of course, the American flag is always on the president's right and the 4-H flag on the left if they're not already stationed on a wall, you know, so if they're movable. So I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to go home here and just click on a couple of these in this last column, and then I'm almost out of time, I think. So let me just pick this one. I don't remember what this. I threw in a couple of international flags, and I thought, well, you might know these. So what country's flag is this? Anybody know? Can you see it well enough to guess? Anybody take a guess on that? It's Mexico. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. I'm going to take this one here because I want to show that too. This one, of course, you'll know. Okay, Canada. I figured I should show our bordering countries. They're the ones you're probably as apt to see as much as any. And yes, it is Canada. So if I go here, this was. How about this one? Somebody's going to know that.
Yep, they've been doing pretty good in the chat. Let's see if they can get that one. We have another question too. Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Yep.
Okay, yes, the cross is Switzerland. Now, Switzerland is a neutral country generally. It has been throughout history with wars and so forth, and that's one of the reasons its flag and the American Red Cross kind of things that, you know, there's kind of a similar look and so forth. So your question in the chat box was?
Yep, it was Sherry was wondering if the order matters. I think it was with the different flags from different countries, if the order matters.
I have not found where that made a difference because they're all at the same level. I think typically a home country, if that's where they'll slide, the home country flag will be on the left again, so it's the first one seen, and the rest will go. But I think the order is, you know, there's no ranking order from country to country. And I am going to go just one more. Which is the only flag in the world with more than 4 sides, which we referred to earlier? Anybody have a guess at what that was? And it's Nepal, and it has this. Non-quadrilateral, two triangles basically, a flag. It's the only one that doesn't have a square corner somewhere. It has a square or a rectangle. And then lastly, it's the 4-H emblem flag, the same for all countries with a 4-H program. And I see Rochelle shaking her head, but and no, it's not. If you look around, the emblem itself is different. The flags can be different. Costa Rica's 4S program, which is the same as our 4H. But you look at each of these. Canada's looks a bit different with the maple leaf in it, and so there's a variety of differences with flags. But it's a tremendous opportunity to learn a little bit about those places as well. And again, this information came from these sources, and that is it. I'd be happy to take any quick questions, but both of these presentations, I'm going to correct that first one so I get those couple of those years right before Mickey posts it here. But then they will be posted and they'll be available to you for you to use if they're helpful at your club meeting. So I think I'm about out of time, but if you have a question, I'll certainly try to answer that while Megan is getting prepared with her session.
We just had one wondering how they fold Nepal's flag when it isn't that how they would put that together. That is a good question,
yeah,
right?
that is a great question. Actually, I had that thought too, but I never found any information about how they do that. But yeah, it is interesting though how flags come about. Some have very specific meanings with the colors. Some don't necessarily have so much relationship to that. But the things that are put on are sometimes they're very specific. Sometimes they're just something that was adopted. There's the U.S. flag is actually one of the older flags that most of the other flags have been adapted or changed somewhat since the U.S. flag began, if you will. So there's a variety of things like that. So with that, I thank you. Again, this was kind of fun to look at and learn from, and trust me, nobody learns more than the teacher, and there's so much more to learn. So I'm going to have to do another one of something like this to pick up on more. But it really does make for an interesting opportunity when you see some of these things and you think, oh, well, I had no idea. So thank you very much.
Dean, those are great. And those activities that we were doing at our computers here are definitely ones they could do virtually with the 4-H club meeting, and the same with that trivia. That could be something they use the chat and do that. So those are great, either face-to-face or virtually. With that, I know Megan's going to be starting here, and Megan, I wanted to let you know that we'll give you a little more time at the end with the evaluation. I want you to take 2 minutes to get up and stretch while Megan's pulling her PowerPoint up. And she's going to be covering those pieces of the 4-H club meeting from 6 feet apart. And so she's going to do that. If you want to get up and stretch, take 2 minutes, come back. I'm looking at my time here. It is 7:45, come back at 7:47, and then we're going to move on with Megan's, and we thank you for your great participation. And thanks, Dean. And Mickey's going to drop that evaluation link into the chat. If you're just sitting here waiting, you can start working on that, but Megan will be with us in just 2 minutes. I should have had some fun music to play. I kind of forgot that. Thanks for that evaluation link. Oh, Carla found that there is a video on YouTube on how to fold the Nepal flag. Oh, that is fabulous. I'm going to have to look it up. Lynette, you're going to have to watch.
Is it time to get started, Rochelle?
Yep, it looks like the clock just turned over to 7:47, so we should go. I know you have a lot to share with us. I should have mentioned, hopefully people have been downloading those apps that you suggested. Great, there's some great information in the chat too about another Jeopardy template that you can use online to play Jeopardy. Great resources. Thanks for sharing, you guys. We all learn from each other. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Megan. Thanks, Dean. And Megan, I'll have you introduce yourself and we'll get started.
Hey everybody, I'm Megan Hoffman. I'm a youth specialist here in the Center for 4-H Youth Development with all of my wonderful colleagues, and I get to wrap up this fantastic volunteer training we've been doing for the past, this is our third Thursday night in a row, and I think it's been great. We've reached a lot of different people, so I'm excited about this opportunity. And I just want to say, when I told Rochelle this topic that I was doing, I was hoping that, and I'm hoping we wouldn't have to be using these things right now, but it seems like with COVID that we're going to have to be using these things more and more. So maybe this presentation is actually kind of relevant to you, and I hope that you'll be able to use some things tonight. But so tonight I'm just going to be talking about reimagining and redesigning your 4-H club meetings from 6 feet apart. So we know the whole lingo today is 6 feet, 6 feet. So that's why I titled it that. But so these are some ways of just to make, if you're meeting on Zoom, these are some ways that you can make your 4-H meetings interesting and keep them engaged, because it's more than just signing on to a Zoom link. You want to keep those youth engaged, coming back and communicate and engage with them and interact rather than just sitting there talking to them. So maybe you can use some things that I share. And don't worry, I'm going to go ahead and say that we will post this slideshow for you. Mickey's going to get that posted, so don't try to take lots of notes, because you'll have the links and everything afterwards. Also, Rochelle mentioned some apps that you wanted you to download. If you didn't, you can do that as we talk. And Mickey will be dropping some links in the chat box for you. So first, I just want to talk about, okay, so now you see the slide, this lady, Michelle Cummings. Let me tell you, she's amazing. I saw her last year at the National 4-H Conference, and she was a really fantastic speaker. And at that time, you know, COVID, that was a distant thought. We didn't even know about that. So she taught a lot of interactive games and ways to facilitate team building and things like that. And so then this summer, she came up with like 3 or 4 awesome sessions where she did these trainings where you could attend them for free on Zoom. And then she also provided her her handouts, and I downloaded those as PDFs, and they're actually shared on our COVID website page. I'm going to show you that as well. But I'm going to click on this, and her business is called Training Wheels. So if you're interested, this is her website. You can go there, learn about her trainings, her workshops. There's free resources. Now, there's some stuff you have to pay for, but there are some free things on there. But she's incredible, really creative, really talented, and just fun. So Michelle Cummings, you want to remember her. Okay. So, and there's the website link at the bottom too. All right, so now I want to remind everybody that my colleagues and I here have put together some amazing resources for you to use during this time. It's on our COVID-19 resources page on our 4-H website. And I know Mickey always puts out the newsletter as well, but we always sometimes forget. So I want to remind you that they are there. And this is not the only topic area we have like science area, environment area. Leanne has an animal science page. But this section, youth leadership and civic engagement, Sue Kwame kind of spearheaded this piece. But what I've highlighted is actually the pieces that you can look at that I actually got tonight's material from. So I didn't create all this myself. I've just kind of pulled the fun things together that I liked to give you a taste of what there is more to look at. So when you go to our resource page, this is what you're going to see. So you're going to see all these different topic areas. So these are good things for you to look at during COVID when we're not all together. So I just wanted to remind you about that we have a lot of resources for you out there. But if you come down to this, these youth playing outside, this youth leadership, civic engagement, and then you'll find all these Michelle Cummings resources. So I just wanted to be sure you knew that. So Mickey can put that in the chat box too, and the training wheels as well. Okay. So next, we wanted to start out with an icebreaker, and Mickey's going to put you into some breakout rooms. And if you maybe downloaded the Story Dice app, actually, if you search for on your phone or iPad, Story Dice, storytelling, just how I typed it, in the bullet point there. And I also put a screenshot of what the icon looks like, the picture. That's what you're going to see. And so what I want you to do is I want you to, when you get to your breakout room, Mickey sends you there, I want you to use this app, and you can actually shake your phone, and these dice actually roll, and it makes a noise. It's kind of cool. And so the youth might like that. And so these dice are going to pop up, and you can see on the screenshot we have like a star, a leaf, looks like maybe a dominoes, or somebody doing shooting sports. So when you're in your breakout room for about 6 minutes, I want you to come up with a story. You can choose one person to shake those dice and come up with a silly story, and then I'm going to ask a few groups to share. Okay? So whenever Mickey's ready, we can go into the breakout rooms and download that app, and then come up with a fun story. And then we'll meet back here in about 6 minutes.
Say, Megan, while I'm thinking about it, once the breakout rooms have been assigned, there is an option to broadcast a message to all of them. I know we were kind of wondering about that before.
It gives them a minute warning.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, I remember we were discussing earlier about broadcasting a message to all of the rooms.
What are you going to broadcast?
I'm not going to right now. And just when we were talking about this earlier, we were questioning whether or not we could put something in a chat for them. You can. It's just
gotcha.
once you had access to the rooms, then you can do it. But.
Gotcha. Okay. So are you timing it for 6 minutes?
Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on
Okay.
the clock here,
Thank
and
you.
I'll do the 1 minute timer at the 5 minute mark.
And how many rooms did you have?
10 rooms, and I think it said 6 or 7 per room.
Okay.
It does look like we have more participation this week than in past weeks with the breakout room, so that's kind of nice.
That's good. Okay, I can't see the chat, so like if y'all see something, just holler at me. Did you stop recording, Mickey, during the breakouts?
No, I did
Okay.
not, but I can in the future if you'd like
Yeah.
me to.
Because it's just gonna be like blank space.
Yeah.
Yeah, since you said 10 groups, I'll just call like groups 2, 5, and 7 or something to share out.
Perfect.
Yeah, she said, what if you can't download, but I'll address that.
There is one room that only 2 people went into.
That's okay. It's probably room 3 because I didn't go.
It is, but Michaela's in there, so I'm hoping she rallies the troops. Yeah.
Okay.
1 more minute, and I'm going to put the timer.
Okay.
1 minute timer on. Quick before we bring them back, you can't hear the boys back there, can you?
I could a minute ago,
Okay,
but I can't right now.
Trying to shush them. I put them on a movie, so hopefully the volume should be down now. All right, Give them 1 minute.
Okay. Are they coming back?
Yep, we're back, Megan.
Okay. Okay. Are all the rooms closed, Mickey, or people still coming back?
They're all back, it looks like.
Okay, great. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed that. And I did see a question in the chat box. Somebody said, what if I can't download the apps? Well, then maybe you have some dice at home that you could roll, or there's also other opportunities for icebreakers that I'm going to show you, or either that, or you could have some type of laminated cards or something that you could use to do storytelling. There's all different ways that you could do things for icebreakers. So we'll go over some more. So if you couldn't download it, don't even worry about it. So I want to get some groups to share out. So if you could unmute your mic, I want to ask group 2. If you're in breakout group number 2, can somebody unmute their mic and tell us your silly story?
That might have been us, but we hardly had any time. It took us forever to get into the break room. So we didn't get a whole story done. So sorry.
Okay, that's okay. What about group 4?
I don't know what group it was.
I know, Megan. That's why I was like, I didn't pay attention
Okay,
to what group
well,
I was in.
I think Carol.
I can
that
tell
was
you
our
who
group,
is which
Caroline.
group.
Oh,
Oh, Caroline. Okay, well,
Yep.
does Caroline have a good story?
yeah.
All right, tell us, Caroline. I can't hear Caroline.
Sorry, my son is asking me if he can make bacon right now, so I was distracted.
Bacon sounds good.
So our words were star, trophy, necktie, fire, dumbbell, cigarette, and we said, I got a star on my math paper when I was really expecting a trophy from my crazy teacher who always wears a necktie. My brain was on fire, so I snuck into the bathroom for a cigarette, and then I felt like a dumbbell.
Oh, that's funny, Caroline. Thank you for sharing.
We decided the cigarette thing isn't positive youth development.
Can't
We
you
should change our message.
change out these? There's a way you can change these, select the youth or child appropriate ones.
Well, Sarah had said that we could censor it more by saying, and we know cigarettes are bad, or you could always
Right.
change
Exactly. Good point. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I see Cindy Clappers. Did you have a story?
We did, but we only had 2 things come up on the dice. So we had.
That's okay.
Or actually, we only chose 1, I guess. So we used the cat, and there was a black cat that had 3 legs, and it started running, and then a dog showed up, but then it chased the dog, but then it couldn't chase the dog very well, so it just sort of ran away until it found a dumpster that tipped over, and a mouse fell out and scared it, and it ran away again.
Oh, that's good, Cindy. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Okay, so as you can see, it's not really a point of what the story is or what the pictures are. The point is just to get the youth to talking and just kind of loosen up and get ready for their meeting or whatever you're going to be doing with them. So thank y'all for participating on that. Okay, so I'm gonna show you another example. Now you should be seeing a card that says all about me. So this is another opportunity if you can't download the apps or you don't have any dice that have pictures on them. then you could also use this as an icebreaker. If you wanted to put this up and the youth could go in their room and say, I was born in, you know, my favorite sweet treat is vacation spot. In my spare time, my family consists of, and one thing people don't know about me is. So that's another opportunity for ice breaking, and the youth could talk about those questions in their breakout room. Okay, and another one I want to show you, this is kind of cool, the wheel of names or questions. Sometimes you don't always like putting youth on the spot, you know, who to call on, or, you know, sometimes it's boring just to like go through who you see on the Zoom screen. So a way that you can like make it kind of fun or jazz it up is use this wheel of names. So I'm going to click on this website, and it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Mickey can put that in the chat box for you too. So you have this wheel that comes up, and I'm going to type in some people that I kind of wrote down while Dean was talking that I saw that are here. I saw Cindy. I saw Kendra. I saw Katie, Caroline. I saw Rachel and Marsha. Okay, so we have all these people's names. So you can type all your club members or whoever you want to in there. And then we're going to click on it to spin it. So let's spin it. Let's see who wins today. Uh-oh, looks like Katie Thompson's the winner today. So it's gonna flash her name up on the screen. So Katie won. Go Katie. Okay, so so Katie was picked, and then so this could give you as a club leader or volunteer leader or whoever's leading the opportunity that Katie gets the next question or Katie gets to share. So it's a good way to go in order and kind of put some suspense on who might get to go next and not just go in the same order. Or you could do roll call like this. And then it can remove Katie's name because you don't want her to win again. So then you can spin again and see who wins this time. Okay, Kendra won this time. So then she comes on the screen. Okay. All right. So if you don't like names, then you can just say, okay, we're going to do my favorites today. So you can do the food, game, 4-H project, sport, vacation, things like that. So these could be something that the youth have to like answer when you call on them. You know, what's your favorite food, game, 4-H project, whatever. So you could spin that and you could use it for questions or really however you want to do it. So you could put anything in there. So now you could go around the room and say, okay, everybody's got to tell me their favorite vacation spot. Okay. And then it can take that, or you can choose not to take it off. And then you can spin it again. And let's see. Now they got to do their favorite food. So that's a good thing to do. You know, or you could put on there if they're doing some type of demonstration or public speaking, or you could put like a topics. If you were doing impromptu speaking, you could, you know, put on there the topics they have to draw for, anything you want to. So you don't even have to remove them, but I just did. So that's another opportunity you could use, you know, for ice breaking or roll call or however you need to do it. So our next thing is playing cards. So a lot of people have a deck of cards at home, and Mickey can drop this link in your chat box too. But if you don't have a deck of cards at home, that's okay, because there's some online versions of that. So this is another way you could do discussion or breakout rooms or things like that. So we'll go to the random cards and look at that. So these are just some questions like name 2 of your favorite holidays if you get a 2, 3 places you visited, 4 important people in your life. So we'll go to this one. And you can either pick a shuffle deck or a shuffle deck of random cards, which is just like more than one deck. So we'll just go to shuffle deck. All right, you click on it. Oh, we get a 2. So now let's see. Let's see, Sarah, one of the Sarahs, Sarah Lighty. What are your 2 favorite holidays? Do you want to share?
Independence Day and Christmas.
Yay, okay, so she got those 2. So now we have 2. And then we can, 10, you can come up with some 10. I don't have any 10s there. I don't have any ideas for the base cards, but you can certainly come up with those. Let's see, a 6. You could say this card says 6 movies you enjoy. I'm not going to ask anybody their 6 movies because that might be hard. But 9, Jack. So you can just keep shuffling like this. So 4. Who are 4 important people in your life? Let's see, Sue Millender. I see you. 4 important people.
My 4 kids.
Yay! Okay, good. So these are some ways that you can use the cards if you don't have a deck of cards, or most people have cards at their house, but if you don't, it's kind of fun to use on the screen. Everybody can see it together and see what you're going to be shuffling and drawing from your card deck. Okay, so now we're going to do breakout rooms again. And another app that I asked you to download was this dice app is called Dice 3D Pixels. And you can see on the screen what it looks like. And if you just search Dice 3D Pixels, you'll find it. And I think it's going to give you an option of like rolling 1 dice or 2 dice. It's not really going to matter right now. But anyway, so you can download that app, or if you want to, Mickey's going to put this in the chat box too, the random.org dice. So if you do go to this website, you can roll 1 dice. You can change this to 2 dice, 3 dice, and then, so there's a 1 right now. So you hit roll again. Now we got a 3. Now you roll again. There's a 4. So it just keeps changing. You can add more dice to it as well if you want to. Depends on how many you want to throw. Okay. So there's some ways that you can use dice in your club meetings if they don't have dice at their house. So now Mickey's going to put you in your another set of breakout rooms. But before that, Mickey, can you put the handout in the chat box? And so this will help you in your breakout rooms, because what I'm going to ask you to do on this handout, if you can open the handout before you go in your breakout rooms and have that on your screen, when you go there, you can either use the website I just showed you, the random.org dice, or if you put the app on your phone, you can just shake your phone like this and the dice roll around. And then there's also going to be some questions on the handout card for you. And so go into your breakout rooms, and it'll tell you what number you roll, and then you'll have to answer those questions. And so you can either say one person has to roll it, or you can each just roll it yourself and tell each other what you got. So just practice that for about 6 minutes or so, and then we'll come back here and I'll ask some people to share their experiences. Okay, so try to open that document before you go to your breakout room so you'll see what you're doing. Okay, so whenever Mickey's ready, we'll send you to a different set of breakout rooms now.
All right, the rooms are open. And it's back on.
Okay.
Megan, I think a couple of people missed in the chat the PDF, so maybe Mickey could drop that again once everybody gets back.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. Okay, looks like everybody's coming back now, so I hope y'all had a little fun and explored the dice either on the website or your app. And I was reading the chats whenever y'all are gone, and there were several good ideas about not using dice to do healthy living activities like jumping jacks or exercises, like roll a 6, do 6 jumping jacks or things like that. Or that was a really good idea. So thanks for sharing. Keep those ideas coming, because we're all in here to share with each other, and that's how we learn. So I appreciate that. So now that you're back from rolling your dice, let's see. Would anybody want to share? Let's see if I can call on somebody. How about Marsha Helen Sauce?
Well, we got the dice to work, but we didn't get, so we thought of various things that you could do with the dice, just making up stuff. So we kind of have fun with that.
Okay, good. Okay. What about, I see, how about Billy on here? How about your group?
Yeah, we answered all the questions and just had fun with it, I guess.
Okay, good. Good. Okay. Let me see who else I can ask. What about Heather?
I was actually in Billy's group, so kind of the same answer.
Okay, good, okay. Well, good, I'm glad y'all enjoyed that. What about Millie? I think you're on mute. Can you hit the, there you go, there you go.
It was in Marsha's group, and so
Oh,
I did
okay.
the dice too.
I keep calling everyone in the same group. How about Caitlin and Carrie?
We had a good time. We actually got through all 6 numbers and went around the room and got our answers from everybody. So.
Oh, good. Excellent. Okay.
Very well.
Good. Okay. So don't worry if you didn't have the handout, we'll get that to you as well. And then these are some more you can use. That, like I said, you're going to get the PowerPoint here. So y'all only had one of these cards, but there's several, you know, you can even make your own about the questions, but these are some other things that you could use. There's 2 right here, and y'all only had one of these. And here's 2 more. So there's 4 cards that you could use, you know, if you wanted to use these in your groups. And I wanted to circle back to the wheel that we did a few minutes ago. And somebody asked, do you have to have an account? I didn't have to have an account. I just signed right and it popped up. And then you can enter names or questions. So there wasn't an account needed. And the other one was, can you put 2 wheels going at one time? And I haven't been able to do that. So I just saw 1 wheel at a time. But good question. Or you could actually have another leader, another person having their own wheel going at a time too. So that might be another option, but you couldn't be sharing the screen at the same time, but you could have maybe another leader on their computer doing the questions, and you could have the names. And good point about, you know, one of our essential elements is belonging. So definitely having the names out there definitely incorporate our essential element of belonging for you. So those are all really good ideas. So thank you for sharing those. Okay, so next, so when we were able to move back into in-person, I'm sure it'll have to be gradual as well too. And I think this whole COVID definitely changed our mindset and the way we think about things and how we do things and interact and maybe more cautious. But it's important to, you know, have your Clorox wipes ready or some hand sanitizer. And there's always that youth that might have forgot their mask. You know, there's always something like that. And one other idea that Michelle Cummings shared was get individual materials in a bucket. Like have each kid have a bucket. And if you're going to do activities or things like that, like have each kid have their own bucket to put their things in. It also could be something they take with them and bring back, or, you know, if it's just a one-time thing, it could be a take-home thing. They could share it with their siblings or another, or, you know, at their house and do it again. So that might be a way to keep reinforcing the activities or lessons that you taught in your meeting. And also, like if you're sharing gear, a way to disinfect it would be to use plastic things or laminate it. Okay, so, and also thumb balls are a way to get kids to answer questions. You don't even have to have anything fancy like this. Lindsay Leaker and I created one of these a few years ago. I think we just took like an old blow-up beach ball and wrote some random questions on it. So you don't have to get fancy, but these are the ones that you can order from Michelle. And so basically whenever you could have, during COVID times, you might just have one person throwing the ball, and wherever their thumb lands, that's the question you answer. Or if you want to share it with the youth, they could actually kick it with their feet, and wherever it lands on their toes or the tip of their shoe, that's the question they can answer. So they don't have to everybody touch it. So there's some ideas as well for answering questions and getting kids engaged. The thumb balls are really kind of fun. And like I said, you don't have to be fancy. Get a beach ball, but write some questions with a Sharpie on it. I know one thing in youth development, sometimes we always forget to actually debrief or reflect on these lessons, these life skills, and these lessons that we teach our youth. So an easy way to help your youth debrief and kind of think about what they learned is to talk about it with the body parts. And so your brain, I don't know if y'all can see this, but can y'all see this like little thing I'm holding up with the brain? I'll turn. Can y'all see that or not? Okay, it's like a little chain. I got this at Michelle's talk, and she gave these out just to remind us. So basically on this chain, there's a little bitty plastic foot, a lungs, a brain, a heart, and some hands. It looks just like what you see in your picture. So you could ask the youth, brain, what is something you learned today? If they had the brain came up. Your heart, a feeling that you experienced. Hand, give an atta girl, atta boy of something well done. your foot, identify the step in a new direction for your life. So these are some ways that you can just kind of wrap up your meeting and kind of bring everything back together and talk about it, you know, make them remember about what they had learned. So that's debriefing. It's always important to reflect on what you taught your youth. And that's also going with our experiential learning model. We have do, reflect, and apply. So this is reflection. And then finally, this is one of my favorites that I kind of came up about a few months ago. It's called Jamboard. And these are really fun to do, and I'm going to get y'all to participate in this as well. And I don't know who all's heard of this, but some people probably have. But basically, it's a Google app to use, and I'll show it to you. And if you go to your Google account, if you see where this red arrow is, this is the icon for Jamboard right there. But I'll show you how to put one together. So we'll go to actually one we're going to do. And this is also a way you can debrief. So I'll show you if you want to make your own. So you're going to go to your Google account, and then you're going to go to these little dots that are top, the dots. There's like 9 dots here. You just come down here, and then you look for the J in Jamboard. And also, you can also download this on your phone as well, and it works pretty well too. So there's also the phone app. So click on Jamboard, and these all come up. If you want a new one, it's kind of hidden, but in this bottom right-hand corner, there's this orange plus mark, and you just hit that, click it. And so this is a new Jamboard, and then you can title it whatever you want to. We'll just call it practice, and put OK. So this is your practice, and it's set up with different frames. So like the first one, if you want them to do something like, let's see, I liked. Okay, you can put save here. And so they're going to come up here, I liked. And so you want your youth, if you want them to write down something they like, you're going to come down to this like 4th icon, a sticky note here. You're going to click on that. You can just select a color. They want green. And what if they didn't like anything? They put nothing. They didn't like anything. So put that up there. And then you can come back and get another color as well, pink. And then they can put like everything, or they can put the food. They always like the food. So put the food. Okay, and then you're like, oh, it covered up. Well, you can just move them down. And then you're like, okay, well, it's filled up. I want to do another one. So then you could put next month. So you want to know what they want to do next month. So you could do the same thing here on different frames for the board. So this is a way you could kind of gather things from what your youth want, you know, to do. And to share it, you're going to have to come here to the share key. And then it's important that you select, like, it's going to come up right here for NDSU because that's us, but like you can select anybody with the link, and then be sure you select over here editor, because if you don't put editor, they can't type on it. So now anybody can type it and edit on it. So then you can just copy the link and share it with your youth through the chat box if you want to. And also it's important to, if you see this thing up here that says clear frame, please direct them not to clear the frame, because if it does, it's going to clear all your notes. But if you don't care, then it's not the end of the world. But if you're trying to collect information, ask them don't hit clear frame, because they're editors, so they can actually click that. Anyway, so that's important. So now, if Mickey can drop in the chat box that link that we had for the Jamboard that you saw on our screen, and if you can click on that, and you can join and use the same process I went through, go down to the 4th icon and find the sticky note, and we're gonna do what I liked, and then our second one is what I learned. So when you finish putting your sticky note on what I liked, you can actually go down to what I learned. Okay, so we'll just do this for a few minutes. And if you have trouble joining, this happened just one time, people said they couldn't get on, just keep trying. I'm not really sure why that was happening that day, but don't worry, like everybody was able to join eventually. I've never really read anything about how many can or can't join, so, oh good, okay, all interactive activities, engagement, okay, learning about the flag, okay, good. All right, great apps, the icebreaker codes, okay. And then don't forget to go to the next page too. Yeah, okay, new apps over here. So people are adding on that page too. Okay. And I did find out the other day that these little sticky notes only take up to a certain number of characters. So like you might have, if somebody was long-winded, they might have to add a second sticky note. So, okay. These are all good activities for Zoom meetings, great apps, having breakout rooms to try them. Okay, flags. All right, so these are all really good. Okay, let's see what we come up with over here. Well, Dean, they learned a lot of your flag information. So that's really good. I learned some stuff too. I never can remember which side you put it on the speaker, but that whole left or right thing was really a good hit home for me. So thanks for sharing that. And then if you have your phone app, you're just going to pull out on your phone app, and I'm going to look at it right now. So Leanne and I were talking about these the other day. So if you click on the phone app and you want to click on it, so you click on the one we're doing, and then at the bottom there's like a pen, like a writing utensil pen. You click on that, and that'll come up with your options of how to actually write on the board. And you might have to click the plus area to find the sticky note, but it seems pretty simple. So that's the last thing we're going to talk about today, but does anybody have any questions or comments or anything they need to ask Rochelle, or any questions in the chat box?
No, just a lot of comments about people using they like the beach ball idea. Erica had an idea where she said we've had each club member be in charge of an activity or a craft and creates a bag with all the supplies and delivers them to other members, and then do that activity or craft at each of our locations while on Zoom, and that has worked great. And Erica, I am going to borrow that activity because we as club leaders have been doing that, and it's getting a little tiring, and so that'll be great to give it to each of the different club members. I think that way they can really have some ownership in it and feel a sense of belonging too, so that's awesome. And a bunch of people said that's great, Megan, good ideas.
Okay, so that's all I really have for tonight. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. And I'm going to keep these, and also the Jamboard, you can actually save it like as a PDF if you want to capture this and keep it for a while. You can do that, and you can actually go back and change everybody to just a viewer, so they can't come in and edit it later on. So those are just some tips I found out, kind of the hard way sometimes. But thank y'all for listening, and I hope that you put these to use in your meetings and coming up.
Thanks, Megan. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen quickly, and Mickey, be ready with those links.
I think there was one more question in the box.
Can you read it as I'm sharing my screen? What was the next question?
Does the host have to does the host have to set up the Jamboard and share it?
Well, I'm the owner of the Jamboard, so I did set it up, and like you can, like, even though you're not seeing my screen now, y'all can keep on putting things on there. I just shared it so you could kind of see how it worked. So like you can keep on sharing it even after we get off of this meeting until I lock it later on. So like I don't have to share the screen for you to keep using it. Does that answer your question? Or Rochelle, you think that was?
But I think you have to be the one to create it to begin with, and then share that specific link.
The link, yeah. Sorry, I thought you meant the screen, but yes, I shared the link. Yeah, when I was showing you how to like say anybody with the link could use it, and make them all an editor, you copy that link, and that's what you share with your members.
Well, thank you, Megan. Those are awesome. I really appreciate those new ideas, even like for my own 4-H club too. So these are great.
Sure.
I want to share, and thanks for participating, going into those breakout rooms. I know in club meetings, just Megan modeling that is another great way to be able to do some different things with your kiddos too, maybe that are quieter and don't want to talk in the large group, but we're willing to talk in those smaller groups. So that's great. I want to share, and Mickey's going to drop these links in again for our evaluation link for the evening to give us some ideas. There's some questions on what you want. We really, truly do look at the question where we ask you what kind of training you want for the future. We as 4-H specialists look at the last couple years input and evaluations every year and make the decision about what we're going to present this year depending on what you put in there. Except for, of course, this year we had to do some moving around to things because we needed some ideas for virtual pieces. And then I want to just remind you again of that 4-H Easy online training. Lots of ideas for your community clubs there. We had done most of it pre-COVID, but there's a lot of activities that could be and information about leading your clubs and empowering your youth. And those are different pieces that can be done online when you have time as a volunteer by yourself. The links to that. And then just a reminder that all the materials and supplies are up on our 4-H volunteer training site, and we will be putting the PowerPoints from tonight up there, and then eventually those video recordings once we do a little editing too. So I just want to say thank you so much for participating as 4-H volunteers. I think at one point tonight we had almost 80 people on. We've had great participation for these 3. Oh, and I forgot to say too, all of you for participating tonight. Mickey is modeling our North Dakota 4-H mask. You will all be receiving one of those. Those will be mailed to your county that you're registered as a 4-H volunteer. And then that you can pick those up from your county offices. We'll be doing that in the next couple weeks here. If you participated all 3 nights, you'll get 3 masks that you can obviously maybe share with as prizes or something with one of your other 4-Hers or your own kiddos. So we cannot say enough about your participation, and we want to thank you as 4-H volunteers and extension staff and parents out there for all the hard work you're doing, keeping these 4-Hers connected, helping them thrive across the state, continuing to keep them engaged in many, many creative ways like we discussed tonight. I cannot say enough. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. You have my contact information if you have questions. You can reach out to us at the Center for 4-H or definitely contact your local extension office. They are wonderful. Your agents out there are wonderful resources. And agents, thank you for so many of you participating. I know you'll be sharing this with your 4-H volunteers out there across the state. Is there any final questions? I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Anything else you saw in the chat, Mickey, at all?
I did not see anything specific.
All right, well, I'll stay on for a little bit, but thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, and happy Thanksgiving early. Great to see all your smiling faces out there. Thanks for your great work. Bye. And Mickey, you can stop recording if you want to.